Generally, all societies have traces of the Ten Commandments. All over the world, every society has a trace of the Ten Commandments. Why is this so? It was from one source. But each society received aspects that are aligned to its level of progress and status. So when you go into the Bible, especially the Old Testament, you find the law, the Ten Commandments, meant for the pioneers of humanity, not generality of humanity, but the pioneers, the leaders in those days. They were given the Ten Commandments by Jehovah God. And we know of that. We can make a reference in Exodus chapter 20, verse 1 to 17, where we find the Ten Commandments. What happened then? In the early days, the best of the material things that one has, especially animals and grains, the ones that are dearest to your heart, they are the ones that you are required to sacrifice to God, not just anything. So in reciprocity, the individual was protected against enemies, sickness, and evil attacks. And the individual is well rewarded, long life and increment in possessions, the material things that you have. The law also required mankind to deal kindly with others. It is part of the law. So long as the individual obeyed and trusted God, his or her prosperity was boundless. You can have and you will have a lot. But these are the initial stages. The laws and the values were fundamental across all societies. There is no society that will not say that it doesn't have laws and values. They are fundamental to all societies across the world. Societies, races, ethnic groups, clans, and families. The laws were fundamental. They were inaugurated. The laws were inaugurated first through a system of theocracy, where we were being led by religious leaders directly by God. And later on, monarchy or chieftaincy came in. It's been refined so much nowadays. Now, what have we said so far? We want to summarize what we have said so far. In all religions across the world, in every religion, the first level of developing into love is worshiping God in fear and obedience. That is the first level. So we don't just begin to love. It started from a different source. And that source is fear and obedience. Fear of the supernatural, obedience to the supernatural. And then we move to the second level, where we have the law of reciprocity and prosperity. You do well, you'll be rewarded. If you don't do well, you'll be punished. People learn to do good to their neighbors with the expectation that they will have benefits immediately or in the future. That was the second level. Then the third level, that is when love was introduced, where service is offered without consideration of reward. Unlike the second level, where you help somebody and you are expecting that the person will help you back. If not immediately, it will be in the future. That is the second level. The third level is where you offer the service without thinking of any material benefit, but with the thinking that your reward is in heaven, that you will be rewarded in the future when you die, no more by your fellow, but by God. So the golden rule also applies over here. If you read Matthew 7, verse 12, the golden rule also applies over here. And the golden rule is, do unto others as you like them to do to you. Then we now move to the fourth level. The fourth level is where loving, self-forgetting service is offered without any thought of yourself, or you are not expecting any reward, not even a reward of heaven. But you know, your consciousness tells you point blank that it is good to do good. That is the fourth level. That is the highest. And that consciousness is divine. Because you have come into the realization that we are all one. That in God, there is no separateness. And that what affects one person affects others as well. That is the fourth level. That is the highest. Now, what are the implications of these four levels? There is a strong connection in all the levels we have mentioned. The four levels that we have mentioned, they are all connected. But how you, the individual, relates to the levels determines your level of spirituality. How you, as an individual, relates to the four levels that we have mentioned so far shows where you are in terms of your spiritual development. Somebody who is advanced will not dwell on the first and the second level. Will prefer dwelling especially on the fourth level, where the person has that consciousness that it is good to do good to all because we are all in one divine source. That person may also operate at the third level, but the first and second level, that person will not like to operate there. So the person who is operating in the third and fourth level, he endeavors to exhibit in his or her daily lives by character, by the value system, by the desires, by thoughts, words and deeds, that which is divine, showing that we are all one in God. Such a person demonstrates unconditional love, forgiveness, selfless service, justice, and fairness. That person is not much attached to materiality. He transforms materiality and sees everybody, all things, as moving and having their being in God, like himself or herself. That is the highly developed person. He sees everything as being in God, and he himself being part of it. That person operating at that level, whether he or she knows it, is attracting materials from the higher desire world. Whether the person is aware or not, automatically that person is attracting materials from the higher desire worlds. On the other hand, individuals who are at the bottom rank of spiritual development, what are some of their characteristics? They are quick to anger. They have a lot of hatred. Greed is in them. Jealousy, selfishness, favoritism, tribalism, and racism. They are all part of those who are at the bottom level. They like sensuality, anything that excites the five senses. That is what they want. Drunkenness is part of it, because drunkenness, in a way, numbs the spirit. And deep-seated materiality. Deep-seated materiality. And knowingly or unknowingly, they are tapping from the lower desire world. That is why they are getting their incentives for. It's not that somebody is giving them, but that is what they themselves are picking by their own conduct. Howbeit, nevertheless, there is hardly anyone in whom there is no good. Everybody has some good. But it is the amount of good qualities in you that determines your level of consciousness and soul quality. The amount of good contains in you determines your level of consciousness and the soul qualities that you have. It is not a one-off attainment. It's a progressive increment in conscience and in virtues. And gradually, we will build more good qualities into our character.